For every adventure, the podcast that dives deep into everything outdoor. Hey, welcome to the podcast For Every Adventure. And Chanel, today we have a Born to be Wild adventure.
Oh, I love that idea.
Adventure with an edge.
Motorcycling. It just sounds cool if you say biking.
Yes. I am excited for today's episode because it is a different type of episode. We are going to be discussing, the outdoor and the adventure aspect of bikers and motorcycling, but there's also a perception of bikers and motorcycling that I would love to tackle in this episode.
Yeah, and also if there's some people that sort of have this dream of going out into the road, like on this lacquer trip on their motorcycle,
Yes.
then this is for you as well. So there's a whole lot of tips to come, and can't wait to welcome our guest.
For Every Adventure, an outdoor podcast experience brought to you by Outdoor Warehouse. First, let's discuss our experience with motorcycling. And you're going to go first because mine, I don't have a long story to tell.
I've always loved motorcycles, always got onto the back of the boyfriend's bike. And then I was in trouble for that. And at one stage I thought, no, listen, I want to do this myself. Why can't I? And I took my boyfriend's 50cc, got on it, and it literally flipped me. So that was my first scare.
Wow.
And I thought, no, you know what? Maybe I'm not cut out for this, but still went for my, what do you call it? Like your learner's license. So I went for the learners. I got through the test, but then backed out once again when I had to, literally get onto the bike.
Okay.
So I never went and did it, but I was a passenger for most of my life. Yeah, so I've got some biking experience on the back.
Well, I've been a passenger, but I've also been the driver of a Puchi.
Ach, lekker.
Yes. So that is, I don't know, we'll ask Tony later if that counts as experience. I had my initiation, I think, when I fell on the Puchi, so I've got some experience with that. No, it definitely doesn't count. I don't think it's the same thing.
But is it something that you really want to do? Is it like something that you thought you can see yourself one day, long red hair on the bike, like out into the road?
The time of the long red hair.
You've got the beard.
Has passed. Yes. I've got the beard going. Yes, I would love to get on a bike someday, and I think there are a lot of good arguments to have a motorcycle.
The biggest being,
right,
with your
leather
leathers,
jackets.
like rock and roll. No, definitely, Carl. Something you should look into.
Definitely, just have to get that idea past my wife. Yes. Okay, so what is it that you don't like about motorcycling?
Kyle, I was all for living dangerously until I had boys. So now the whole idea of them getting on bikes, it's scary. So that's the only part that I'm very wary of. So, and then also when you're on the road and you're not the biker, you kind of have to really look out for them as well. So that's the only thing. The rest of it, I'm all for it.
I totally agree with everything there. I think safety is the big aspect about why I would probably also not want my son to get on a bike. But then again, I am sure that if you are trained properly and you just keep a level head and not try and go overboard and, again, just follow the rules, then you should be okay. There's always going to be the aspect of you don't have control over a driver or other bikers, but you need to, that's how I drive my car. I sort of try and think for everyone around me and try and avoid whatever I can and just stay within the rules to stay safe. And I think that applies to biking as well. Again, we're going to find out from our expert, our legend, because literally a legend in the motorcycling community. And we'll get to that, to chopsticks. Can't wait to chat to Tony.
Were you in that age group where you saw Biker Mice from Mars?
Yes.
Okay.
No, definitely. Biker Mice from Mars and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all those
Maybe that's
things.
where the gang thing comes from. I don't know.
It could be, but I also think it's the media I've consumed. So maybe stories are just more interesting when there's more drama, more violence perhaps, more, maybe it just adds to the story, but it does create a perception which I would love to challenge in a few minutes.
The outdoor life is for everyone. And our clothes are too. It's made to last in the sun, wind and weather. Whether you're fishing, hiking, camping or going to work. Get all your favorite brands like First Ascent, Cape Storm, African Nature, High-Tech and Columbia all under one roof. Outdoor Warehouse for every adventure. Also shop online.
For every adventure podcast, bringing you all the tips and tricks for your next adventure.
So, Kyle, we have a motorcycle legend here with us today. So I'm so excited to welcome Tony Barkley, probably better known in the biker community as Chopsticks. Welcome, Chopsticks. It's great to have you here, and also seeing you in some of this, biker gear. Absolutely loving it. I'm glad you could make it with us today.
Thank you.
I want to get to know you a bit better. So this road name Chopsticks, where did that come from?
Wow, okay. I've always been a lover of most things Oriental, but I have a particular fondness for Oriental martial arts, specifically ninjutsu and Aikido.
Okay.
I've used to teach it. I've done it for most of my life. I even have my own dojo at home, actually, because I've enjoyed that much.
Okay.
But I always carry a pair of chopsticks with me when I go. I eat with chopsticks normally. It's my favorite weapon. Yes, ninjutsu teaches you how to use a matchstick as a weapon.
Wow.
Or anything.
We'll know now. If we see you with the chopsticks, it's not only to eat.
No, it's not. And I think it just... I forget even who gave me the name, but one or two bikers said, your chopsticks.
And then
and it just stuck.
What do you ride? What's your favorite motorcycle?
My favorite motorcycle very definitely is the Honda Goldwing. Maybe because I'm an old school biker. I like my comfort on a long trip. It's a very comfortable motorcycle. My own personal touring bike, I have several Goldwings, but my own personal touring bike, I've done 762,000 kilometers with it, which is quite a lot of mileage for an old motorcycle, which still runs beautifully and very comfortable.
Do you prefer sort of a solo trip or to go in groups?
I like both.
Okay.
My wife and I quite enjoy going on trips by ourselves. We'll go down to the Garden Route, or we'll go on Route 62, places like that. But I have been on many functions with bikers, with bike clubs. We have the breakfast runs as well, of course, on Sundays. They often have breakfast runs. They have charity runs. So yes, I've been on many runs with bikers as a member of the club and as an individual as well.
No one knows this about me, but I like the Garden Route.
Do you love it?
That's sort of a joke, because apparently in every episode I say, no, but the Garden Route.
Kyle likes the Garden Route. We're going to have to get you on a bike in the Garden Route.
Another thing, I also like the Garden Route. So, Tony, let's go back to the beginning where it all started for you. Obviously, you're a big lover of motorcycling, and that's the question. Where did the love come from?
Well, I've been riding bikes since I was pretty young, in fact.
Okay.
And I've ridden now for 55 years at least.
Wow.
But I've always had a passion for bikes. I've always been interested in them, what makes them work, different types of bikes, different styles of riding. It's all very interesting.
Do you remember your first ride? The first bike you got on?
Yes, I do. It was a tiny little off-road bike. I was probably about 11. Okay. And I remember playing on the farm with this bike, sliding it all over the place. Taught me a lot of useful biking skills later in life. And yeah, that was the first time I rode.
I wonder if that's the ideal way to learn how to ride a bike. Be on a farm, be able to fall down if you need to, get to learn everything without the pressures of the road. Does that make sense?
It makes good sense. Okay. You can make mistakes on a farm, but you can't make mistakes on a road.
Chopsticks, you're so well known, and I want to sort of bring people into the picture that, you know, that might not know you, that might not be part of the whole biker and the biker-friendly business community. You've been honored by the Motorcycle Association, twice honored, if I believe, hey?
Yeah.
Day of the Legends.
Well, it was just something nice that the Motorcycle Association did. They had a Day of the Legends, and they honored me for my contributions to biking, which has always been to bring together bikers and biker-friendly business, and also to promote biking in general.
I see. Okay.
So what different types of motorcycling exists? Off-road, on-road? Are you involved in both?
I prefer road biking personally, but
Okay.
there's off-road biking is very interesting. There are a lot of chaps who are very passionate about it. It's very exciting. You can visit very interesting places. Those bikes are geared for on-road use and off-road use. They can go into all sorts of pretty rough terrain, and the chaps who do that have a lot of fun.
Okay.
It's a big market. It's a growing market, and it's becoming very, very popular.
Do they break a lot of bones?
Some do, but yeah, it's interesting. Most bikers are actually pretty good with their bikes.
Okay, well, let's chat about the safety, because that's something we spoke about a few minutes ago. And I would like to find out the concern maybe from any parent is motorcycles are dangerous. I don't want my child on a motorcycle. What would your answer be to that?
I'd say motorcycles are dangerous if you don't learn how to handle your motorcycle properly, if you do not get correct training, and if you're reckless.
How do you go about preparing someone for a motorcycle?
I would say that they go to a really good trainer. In the Western Cape, we have some very good trainers who are very competent. They will teach you all aspects of motorcycle safety, you know, what to do when you're overtaking a truck or something, for instance, what to look for, how to counter steer on mountain passes and things, how to brake correctly, gear down correctly. All of these things can save your life.
Okay.
That's good to know. Tell me about the gear. Is it expected that you always be in full leather? Or is it actually, I mean, do people not do that for protection?
Well, it's a good idea, especially on a long trip, to wear protective leathers. And, of course, they also have the more modern Kodira type jackets and things as well. But leather has always been good to protect you. A good helmet is a must. In fact, it's regulation.
Okay.
Many of the old school bikers still occasionally use a non-regulation helmet. They're quite fun. And there are occasions where it's nice to have them.
Are those like tiny ones?
Well, they call them piss pot helmets.
I didn't want to say it, but there it is now.
Let's talk about the adventure aspect of being a biker. You've spoken about the essentials. Helmet is a must. Good road leathers are also essential. How else do you prep for your trip?
Well, I think your bike has to be roadworthy. The tires are very important. You have good tires on your bike, a good brand of tires. One of the biggest dangers riding a bike is oil on the road, so you have to be very aware of that when you ride. But your bike needs to be in good roadworthy condition. The brakes need to be good. You need to check your suspension, things like that. It's very basic, but important.
You were saying people shouldn't be reckless, that's a problem. Is it mostly drinking and driving when it's the young ones?
It can be drinking and driving. I think most of the old school bikers will always tell the younger bikers, don't drink and drive. It's never a good idea to do that. But I think most bikers are pretty responsible. You know, they'll go to a rally, they'll party, but by the time they ride home, they'll have sobered up and they'll be in good condition to do that safely.
No. I found that because my father, he was a big Harley fan. Okay. And I actually quite prefer being a passenger on a Harley because you're not really speeding. You've got your little seat and you're just cruising. So I like that. But then we went on one or two of these runs and in the Kimberley area. And I quickly realized that my perception was so wrong. That these people that own these bikes were the ones with the money that can afford the upkeep and the smart bikes and going on these runs. And I realized, no, you know what? It's not. It's not what I thought. It's the doctors and the lawyers that are in these bike clubs. So that's where my perception changed from what you see on American movies.
Definitely. When I think of bikers, outside of the perception I've received from media and personal experience, when I think of a biker club, I think of brotherhood, I think of camaraderie, I think of you found your tribe. You've got a bunch of people you can depend on who will be there for you when you need them. There are rules, and there are strict rules, and I want to find out about those rules. But overall, I think it can only be a positive experience to have your tribe with you and to share a love for this engine, for this beautiful piece of mechanical art that you get on and take on the long road, because now you share a trip, which means you share memories, you share experiences, you share freedom. And that's what I want to find out. Tell me about the brotherhood, the sisterhood.
Well, let's start at the beginning. The vast majority of bikers are in it for the brotherhood, and they respect each other. Respect is a big thing amongst bikers.
Respect.
You find people talk about outlaw motorcycle clubs, especially in America. The South African biker generally is actually a very good guy. They're very generous, compassionate people, very kind. They're tough, but they don't normally cause trouble of any type. In all my years of biking, I've very rarely seen trouble between bikers. Bikers sort out their own problems. But there are outlaw biker clubs. They don't affect the normal clubs really. In fact, some of them are pretty supportive of normal motorcycle clubs, and they keep to themselves largely.
Is the outlaw biker idea a very American idea?
Yeah, I think it is more an American idea. A lot of these clubs were formed after the Vietnam War and things like that, and servicemen came back from Vietnam. They were bored. They bought second-hand military motorcycles and started motorcycle clubs for something to do, for some excitement. You can do skydiving or you can do motorcycling. I think motorcycling is much more fun.
I would guess so.
Sometimes the bikers would put each other in place. Is that because you protecting the image of your club? So if there's a rough one, they're going to sort that guy out.
Well, for instance, women are respected in motorcycle clubs. The ladies in that club, the men in that club look after them. It's disrespectful for a member of another club, for instance, to in any way denigrate anyone in another club. And bikers normally sort these things out themselves. But the code, the biking brotherhood, is such that these things very rarely happen.
Okay.
And bikers help each other.
You've got some road leathers on today, and I would like to find out what's the story behind it, the patches, the badges, how does it work?
Well, I'm not wearing a patch today, but I can tell you. A patch is the name of the club.
Okay.
It's earned. It's not just given by a motorcycle club. A new member, want-to-be member of the club will become an appy. He basically has to serve an apprenticeship, normally for about a year or so, and then the club will decide if he's worthy of being given a patch. But that patch will then become the patch that he has to respect and honor. If he disrespects it, he can lose his patch. And then, of course, you have the Rockers, which is the name of the club at the top, and then normally the region or area that's that particular group of bikers come from.
How many appies actually pass the test?
Some appies don't pass the test because they have to be able to put up with a little bit of nonsense. You know, bikers are pretty tough.
Hey, B-word.
They don't take nonsense, and they also want members in their club who are strong, who are capable, and who are fair-minded, I think, in many instances. But also they have to be able to stand together as a club.
And so now you've got your patch and you're part of the club, and it's time for your first run, time to hit the road. How does the formation work? Who does what?
Normally, if it's a club run, you'd have the president probably in the front, vice president next to him or close behind him. You will have a road captain at the back of the pack. He will be in charge of road safety, monitor how the run is going. You will also have a secretary in the club.
Goodness
You'll
me.
have an enforcer. The sergeant at arms is the one who maintains law and order. So, yeah, there are a couple of different...
There's a whole hierarchy.
Yeah,
It's so organized.
It's almost military, you know.
Yes.
It's a lot of the original bikers came from military backgrounds.
I
So
see.
It's ironic to me because when you think of chaos and order, I think, again, back to the perception, is that bikers are chaos. And if you really think about it, it's order.
It's order. And then you
It
also
is.
do such good work. Luckily, there's that part of it that one can see in the media. You support charities. Do you yourself support any charities?
yes, we've supported, for instance, the annual toy run every year for the last over 20 years now.
Wow, wonderful.
And the toy run collects toys for, I think, about 67 charities for underprivileged children. They normally collect several thousands of toys at the annual toy run. It's probably the biggest get-together of bikers annually in the various provinces. Yeah. But individual clubs also do take on special projects, like many of them have supported children who've needed heart operations and all sorts of things like that. They will support other bikers and even sometimes non-bikers who may be friends of bikers. If, for instance, they fall on hard times, they'll often try and support them as well. If someone loses their life, they'll try and support that family sometimes. The Motorcycle Association does a lot of good in that respect. And most of the major clubs belong to the Motorcycle Association.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So, chopsticks. When you go on your rally and you go on the trip, there has to be a few accessories that you just need to take on the trip.
Okay. Us older bikers, yeah, I guess when you get older, you want a bit more comfort. So sometimes you might book into a bed and breakfast, but mainly, many of the campsites, obviously you have to camp. And I remember in the old days, it was very Spartan, very basic camping, rough camping. Those are the days in rough biking, actually. But I can tell you, though, that these days, if you go to a big rally, they have lovely camping facilities normally, ablutions, food stalls. You'd lack for nothing, really. Entertainment. They have the big tents there with the music.
Yes.
The pub. It's quite a lot of fun, actually. But I would say if you're going camping and you take your two-man tent, maybe it's you and your pillion or maybe yourself. Normally a little frame tent is the quickest and easiest to put up. One thing I particularly like, especially as I'm older now, is I like an inflatable mattress that fits exactly into my tent. Not these hardcore, very dense camping mattresses they used to sell.
Nice and soft.
Yeah, and then you have a little compressor. I've seen chaps sitting there puffing at these things, trying to blow them up or deflate them. It takes hours. You get a little compressor that inflates and deflates. It attaches to your bike battery, and it does the job quickly and easily. You sleep well, and next day you're refreshed. But there are other things as well. If, for instance, you're going to a place where maybe they do not have food facilities, then you might take, for instance, I know Outdoor Warehouse have some magic products in that range, desiccated foods, which taste very good. In the past, these products didn't, but theirs do. But you would take maybe a little burner. If your bike has the ability to carry these things, a top box and panniers maybe. If it doesn't, a lot of bikers will have a tank bag where they put some of their things in a tank bag and maybe strap some things onto the back seat with a cargo net. One of the most useful things maybe is a Leatherman tool. These are useful for bikers for all sorts of situations. You know, if your bike breaks down, you need to tighten a nut or something silly. And then, of course, I think there are so many interesting camping products now available for the biker. So you can really camp in comfort.
That's very, very good. I was at one biker rally, actually. It was a sound job I had to do in Stillby, and the best burgers I ever had came from that rally. just putting it out there. Like, if you
Just
ever
so we know.
get a hamburger.
You're sounding more and more like a biker. Carl.
I think those were Dalton's burgers. He used to make the best burgers, and I think he did
Could
cater
be.
at that rally. Yeah.
Oh, maybe like 10, no. Maybe like 12 years ago? That
Yeah,
was maybe
about
like 12
then,
years
yeah.
ago. Wow, that's just an existential crisis I'm having. But we'll get to some products soon in the product review section, and there are really a bunch of great stuff you can get from Outdoor Warehouse. But let's switch to a few stories. Any favorite stories you have to share with us?
Well, there was one occasion when I was very glad to have camping equipment on my bike. I was riding from Johannesburg back to Cape Town. And in the Free State, there was a very, very heavy hailstorm. It was bad, huge hailstones.
Okay.
Fortunately, there was a little bit of a donga at the side of the road, and I could ride my bike down into this donga. And I pulled out my tent, covered my complete bike and myself with this, used my sleeping bag to pad my tank under the tent, and I huddled next to the bike for probably about 40 minutes or so. When the storm was over, they were massive hailstones, but I think it would have caused serious damage to the bike and myself. But it was camping equipment that helped, so that was useful.
It's a MacGyver moment.
Yeah, and I remember also, this was in the 70s, going up Sunny Pass, and it was snowing. We were ill-prepared for that trip, and it was freezing. We couldn't get back down the mountain easily, so we had to overnight there. We had no camping equipment, which is where I developed a strong appreciation for good camping equipment, because we had to sleep in a farmer's barn. Fortunately, he was very decent. He had bales of hay, and we shook this hay, covered each other up, and we had a relatively comfortable night. It was cold, but I have a real appreciation for a warm tent, and when you go on a trip, go with the right gear.
Hey, that sounds like a barn burner.
Hey, Kyle.
No.
Have you done some international biking trips?
I have toured around parts of Europe and the UK, and I've always enjoyed that sort of thing.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Is there somewhere you still would like to go that you haven't?
I'd like to tour in America. I mean, visit the Sturgis Rally in the Black Hills and places like that.
Wow.
It's something I think most bikers aspire to, something like that. But I visited many countries that are fairly local, and Namibia is a place I enjoy, and lovely trips there, good roads. So
What's the longest trip you've taken? The most amount of kilometers you've taken on?
That would have been a round trip through Namibia and back through the Transvaal up to Mozambique and back.
Okay,
road
that's
trip.
Quite a trip.
Yeah,
How long did it take?
Well, that was about 5 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah,
Sounds like a fantastic adventure to me.
it was. It's yeah, I'm a bit old to do that now, but I would love to do it again.
What's age? Come on. As long as you can be comfortable, like you said. Yeah, that's fine.
Like I said to Marlene this morning, I said, I'm 70 now, but I still enjoy bikes with a passion. I still enjoy riding. The Biker Brotherhood has been very good to me. I have tried to be good to them.
Yes.
And I must say, some of the staunchest friends you could make are bikers. From all walks of life. It might be a doctor, lawyer, it could be a chap who's a builder, a carpenter. It makes no difference at all. Not just that, there are also black and coloured clubs, especially in the Western Cape. There's some terrific bikers in those clubs. They help each other. They cooperate with each other. I know there was an overseas outlaw club, well, this was maybe 2 years ago or so, that wanted to set up in Cape Town. Our Motorcycle Association have pretty strict rules on clubs starting up in general, but they didn't want them here. And the clubs came together, the Motorcycle Association clubs, and they got them to leave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, you know.
Very interesting. It all comes back to respect. That's like the
Yeah,
theme I'm getting.
it's foreign. It's not, you know, we have a few outlaw clubs locally, but those guys we know, you know, they're good chaps in general. And quite honestly, they don't give the normal clubs a problem. It's a matter of respect. You know, you respect them, they respect you. And
An outlaw club is just a club not part of the Motorcycle Association, I guess.
yeah,
Is that the definition? Okay.
Yeah, well, that some can be members of regional associations, but some aren't.
Okay.
But those are the ones that have been accepted and are respected.
When it comes to this brotherhood, do you see it spilling over into bikers supporting each other's businesses?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We've, for the last 20 years now, have at the annual toy run, we've handed out a small little pocket diary directory publication, which brings together motorcyclists. It's given away free of charge to every motorcyclist who goes to the toy run, and the businesses who feature in there. And many of them are owned by bikers. So it's a service to the bikers. It's a service to biker-friendly businesses. And I think it's fostered goodwill. For instance, there are particular restaurants and things that when we visit the garden route, we'll go to Oldies, for instance. They've supported us for 20 years, the bikers.
Okay.
We'll go and eat there. Many of the motorcycle clubs go there as well. So and there are many establishments like that. So, you know, they support us, we support them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you yourself have been involved in this, in spreading this booklet, right?
Yes, no, absolutely. You know, we've this is the last year we've done that actually, because everything now has obviously gone digital, and everyone has smartphones. So we've now gone that route, which is a big advantage to bikers and biker-friendly businesses, because so many places that can expose themselves to the bikers and vice versa.
Let's shine a spotlight on that thought. Is there somewhere I can go to get more information about the bikers? Somewhere like a directory or something?
Yes, you can. There are quite a few sites, but you can go to www.africanbikersworld.com.
Okay.
And we started this in the Western Cape because that's where we bike. But it is expanding into the other provinces now. And you can basically, a biker can find anything now on his cell phone. If he's traveling, it's late in the day, he wants a place to overnight, eat, sleep. He can say, okay, I'm in Knysna now. What have we got available? It'll show them exactly.
Fantastic.
The mountains are calling. So what are you waiting for? Get the right adventure gear at Outdoor Warehouse. From day packs and hiking boots to trekking poles and hiking tents. Be prepared for whatever the season brings. And don't forget our expert advice and hiking packing lists available in-store and online at outdoorwarehouse.co.za. Outdoor Warehouse. For every adventure.
For every adventure. The official Outdoor Warehouse podcast that brings you everything you need to know for your next adventure.
Well, I think the first product we should chat about is the Leatherman, because it's such a universal and loved tool, and it does so much. And you get a lot of nice variations of the Leatherman, the 14 tools, 17 tools, 21 tools. Is there a specific one that you use? Probably the bigger one, right?
I think as long as it has a pliers, screwdriver, knife,
Okay.
the basic stuff, maybe a can opener, bottle opener,
Yeah,
things
bottle
like
opener,
that.
to me, that would be important as well.
And of course, the many other things they have, like specific type of screwdriver attachments and things.
One can service that Leatherman. Is it like a lifetime guarantee?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anything goes wrong, you just have them sort it out for you.
Such a great tool to have. And then also we chatted about the straps for your luggage. And Outdoor Warehouse also has a great variety of products you can get in that regard. And with that, obviously, the cargo nets, which you can also get from Outdoor Warehouse. Is there a specific? Are you the type of guy who would go with the?
I'd like to tell you something about tie straps.
Okay.
I remember going on, this has happened twice. I've been on rallies, once to the Buffalo Rally, where a chap was riding his bike with tie straps incorrectly attaching his sleeping bag and tent on the back part of his seat. And I was riding behind him and I saw his luggage starting to move sideways. And it actually ended up inside his back wheel and he came off his bike quite badly, actually.
Ooh, okay.
So tie straps are really good to have on a bike, especially if you have crash bars, but then you tie it down tight.
Was he okay?
Yeah, he was okay, but you need to secure it well. His bike wasn't so okay, but he was okay.
Is his nickname now Straps?
No idea.
Okay.
No idea.
Another big thing, Chanel, and we've mentioned it in previous episodes, it's a first aid kit, right?
That's always important. I remember going to rallies where someone has had an accident, and many clubs will have someone within their club who's trained in first aid. Often it's one of the lady bikers, not always though, and who are professionally trained or who have done first aid courses. And I think in many instances they've saved people's lives actually, especially things like broken necks and backs and things like that, or how to secure a broken leg or arm properly, what to do and what not to do at the case of an accident, when someone is bleeding, things like this. It is important to have someone. Normally the road captain will probably have that or designate someone within the club to carry that.
I would recommend the 360 degrees first aid kits from Outdoor Warehouse. There's a smaller first aid kit, and then there's the versatile kit that's a bit bigger, and then there's also the comprehensive kit you can go check out.
Yeah, you can't always rely on someone else bringing the first aid kit. I think everyone should have their own.
At all times. Maybe like every bike has a normal small one just for the basics, and then as Chopsticks mentioned, someone would have a comprehensive kit just to make sure that every situation is covered.
I always carry a small one on my bike.
Okay. Yeah. Any other products that we didn't touch on that you would recommend?
Gosh, there's so many products, but a light is always good if you're going camping.
Yes, I know. I've gone camping and...
if you're wandering around the campsite in the pitch dark trying to find your tent and maybe you've had a too few many celebrating in the big tent or something.
Oh, you are describing my camping trip.
You need to find, where you're going to overnight.
Yes. I've made that mistake. If this is the first episode you're listening to For Every Adventure, just go check out the camping episode.
But Outdoor Warehouse have so many options there. There's even those ones that sort of help for the mosquitoes as well. So if you can have that with you, that's somewhere. Twee mosquito met een klap.
Wow.
Believe me, I think most bikers wouldn't even notice whether a mosquito had bitten them after they'd had an evening out.
But the mosquitoes won't want them, actually.
Probably not. But there are many other interesting camping products. As I say, if you're going to do a bit of rough camping where you have to cook for yourself, these little pots that sort of concertina into each other, and little burners. There are many products like that. The little knife and fork sets that all fit together so neatly and tidy, take up less space on your bike. And you have to have a bike, of course, that can accommodate all of that.
You know what I find so interesting is how all these different areas of adventuring overlaps. Like the bikers love camping as well, and then there's so many that likes 4x4ing. So it's just actually a whole community of people that love the outdoors and love adventure.
Well, I think in general, bikers love life.
Okay.
And I must say, I don't think I've ever met a biker who doesn't have a real zest for life.
Yes.
In some form or other. And many of them do have other interests. Many of them do 4x4ing, boating, martial arts, all sorts of other things too. They're normally pretty active people, actually.
Yes.
And then, of course, on a road trip, you make many friends in many of these areas, like Route 62, Ladysmith, Carletstorp, Oudtshoorn. There's the 7 weeks put for the off-road bikers who want to branch off past Ladysmith.
Yeah.
So there's some beautiful places. The Cape has got some magic places and beautiful roads.
Nice.
It's all about the company, the companionship, the respect.
Yes. And I think that's a fantastic way just to wrap up this episode. Thank you for the time. This was really a fun chat.
No,
And
so insightful.
yes, and the perspective, I hope we changed at least one person's perspective of what a biker lifestyle is. And again, thanks, Chopsticks.
No
This was a
problem at
privilege.
all. No problem at all.
Legend.
Ride safe. And for all the young bikers, don't try and be a big man. Don't show off. Ride safely. Respect yourself and other people. And you should arrive to a pretty old biking age that way.
Wise words from Chopsticks. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for listening. Remember, every second Wednesday, you can find us as well. You can find a brand new episode on Spotify or Apple. And that's it. Don't miss the next one. Cheers.
Someone get Kyle a bike.